Let's talk about an area that the WNBA has just completely failed at. That is social media, marketing, media, period. Basically, anything dealing with public relations, they have failed miserably. Now, have they provided adequate press releases? Sure. But their banning of certain reporters, the lack of coherent media to watch after games, yeah, it's all a fail of WNBA. Not to mention the simple fact of that they have their athletes thinking that they need to be politically correct. Well, up until now, and you've got a couple of players that are being less than politically correct. But I thought I would go over some fixes, some things that can honestly make the WNBA get more views without having to deal with sex appeal, without having to deal with women shaking things that the good Lord made and shouldn't be shaking on TV. Seriously, I'm going to discuss ways that WNBA can improve, but they're not going to because, well, it won't be politically correct. They got to be politically correct. They've got to be monotonous individuals that all sound the same because you must be an automaton or you are offensive. Yes, basically. But let's get into it. Hey folks, this is Paul with Redneck Sports. I want to thank you for viewing my video, and I want to give you one thought process. There was a famous coach at the University of Tennessee by the name of General Robert Nealon. He had 6 maxims, but number 2 maxim is what everybody should apply to their life. Play for and make the breaks. When one comes your way, score. That's how to live your life right there. Here's the first thing that WNBA has a problem with that they need to fix quickly. They have an honesty problem. Everybody knows that the refs are horrible. But Ethelbert, whatever her name is, let's put it this way. I'm at the point right now I don't even want to look up her name. Seriously. That is her comments and her actions have caused me not to even care. Her comments on the refs are idiotic. Now, Cheryl Swoops may not have been representing the W when she went on Gilbert Arenas and made comments about Caitlin Clark, but they were not truthful. I don't know if she believed them, but she told statements that weren't true. It went viral, and it literally divided the W fan base between Caitlin haters and Caitlin lovers. You can't be somebody that I normally am. Yes, I cover Caitlin Clark because, well, it gets views. I cover the Fever because it gets views. But I have stated I love me some LA Sparks. I want Cameron Brink to get back there. I like that Kelsey Plum is on there. I like the Sparks. They're horrible right now. They've been horrible for a long time, but I think that they're fixable. You know what? Cheryl Swoops, though she was not officially representing the W, because she is a WNBA legend, because she is who she is, her comments became part of the WNBA narrative. And then we got to seeing all the official W reporters, all the officials W media, and it pretty much hates on Caitlin Clark and the Fever. You need to get rid of that. You need folks that are going to be honest. To be honest, you have to be middle of the road. Now, yes, Inside NBA with Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and EJ, and his Neato Fact of the Week. Those four men at times stretch the truth on certain things. But for 99.99999% of the time, they're not. And their stretching of the truth is usually the truth. They're just, being a little bit more. And they are seen as folks that you want to cover the NBA. They're not officially NBA. There are times that you can tell that Adam Silver probably rolls his eyes at inside NBA. But you know what? They tell the truth. And they're not official employees of the NBA, but you know what? They have more of a voice about all things basketball than the entire front office of the WNBA. Candace Parker has been part of the TNT stuff that went on with the NBA. I know it's no longer on TNT, but Candace Parker was honest, but it really wasn't much else past that. I like me some Candace Parker, but you take a look at Charles Barkley. When he tells the truth, oh my God, does he tell the truth? You sit there and go, "There's being too honest, Sir Charles. Quit being too honest, Sir Charles." But he does it, and you love him even more for it. No, he's not a role model. That's what you need right now. You need folks that are not role models that are sitting there giving information about the WNBA. They're giving commentary, they're giving analysis. They're watching the games beside you and then telling you what went on from a basketball player's perspective. And they're doing it honestly. Okay, they don't have to do it like a drone. We do not need to be the bird by any stretch of the imagination. You will be assimilated. That is not the mentality that you need right now. Let's get into the next thing. Okay, we're going to follow along that inside NBA track. And the next thing that y'all need is some personality. I watch Monumental for a few games. I have Monumental or Monument or Monumental, whatever it is for the Mystics. And then I've seen other WNBA games other than Ion. Ion, I don't know who calls the show the stuff, but you don't really see them. But I see all of this stuff and I go, okay, interesting, but it's boring. The people that are sent to represent the WNBA have no personality. They smile like they're from the 1950s TV shows. Okay, from the male perspective, they are attractive. I guess that's what you were going for. But they are coming across as, I am not accusing them of being, but they act like they're vapid. VAPID. They act like they don't have the brains God gave to somebody to realize that they need to pour liquid bodily excrement out of a boot. Seriously. I know these women have to have far more brains than what they're appearing on TV. I would hope to God that they do. I don't know them personally. I've never seen them off of WNBA stuff. I honestly don't know who the heck they are. But they have no personality. It's like you found one. Okay, this one will be an analysis. This one will be a commentator. And you cloned them. You'll raised them up for the lightning rod to strike. And when they came out, you went, they're alive! They're alive! But they really, really do not seem that way. Carl, let's go back to the Inside NBA whole thing again. Charles Barkley's comments on San Antonio women in churros. Probably one of the least politically correct commentaries I have ever heard on TV from a sports program. Guess what? It worked. The women of San Antonio did things that I'm just sitting there going, holy cow, it worked. They're getting out there in droves. Shaquille O'Neal, one of the nicest fellers that you could picture. I mean, I'm sure the man's got a temper. I have seen things of him being angry, but he is an entertainer of the highest order. And you want to see what he's going to do. You want to see his reaction to Charles Barkley. You're wanting to see his reaction to everything because he does it in such an honest and everyday man approach that you're going, this man was a superstar. And yet he reacts just like I do. And Kenny Smith, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I knew who Kenny Smith was. I didn't know his name. I knew who he was back in the 90s. I was watching that era. That was my time in high school and in the Marine Corps and coming out of the Marine Corps. That time period, I know who Kenny Smith is, but I knew who he was without knowing who he was. He was a very good basketball player that played alongside the Dream and Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, not Atlanta Dream. He played alongside of one of the top five centers of all time. In all honesty, Hakeem Olajuwon is one of the top five centers of all time, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I have one, but watching him on Inside NBA and watching his personality, he can be this businessman type. He is breaking things down in an eloquent and learned fashion. And it comes across as this is a man that you want to represent your company. You could see him with a law degree. But then he falls into the tomfoolery of Shaq and Charles. Sir Charles is nothing but tomfoolery. Shaq is, well, Shaq, one of the most beloved sports figures of all time. And Sir Charles is, well, Sir Charles. You can't put him in a category. And Kenny gets done explaining things in the way that needs to be explained whenever Ernie can't do it. And then he falls into the tomfoolery of those two. And it is amazing. Why? Because they all have a personality. You need to find you some players. You can't tell me Sophie Cunningham, Angel Reese, Cameron Brink for that matter, don't have a personality. That there are not players. Sue Bird comes across somebody who's got a great personality. Cheryl Swoops, if she didn't have an honesty problem, would be an amazing person. I don't care what she. You need some non-political correctness going on in a show that is talking about the WNBA and is giving a non-PC interview to these players. It is getting to the point of that the political correctness is killing y'all. Y'all need some spice up in there. Y'all might not need Carolina Reaper or even a ghost pepper, but y'all need to throw in some jalapenos. Maybe some banana peppers, a little cumin maybe. Not all at the same time, by the way. That might freak people out with the different flavors. But y'all need some flavor. The third and last thing that we're going to talk about, and I've kind of touched on it in the other ones, but it really is that big of a deal. Y'all need to get rid of political correctness. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some level of political correctness, but seriously, it's like watching a bunch of automatons. You've got players trying to be players, but then they get up there for their interviews, and some of them hit it out the park, but others of them, they just they have a mind virus that is called PC. I love when Aaliyah Boston found out that she had gotten the technical instead of Caitlyn, and Caitlyn during that or right after Aaliyah Boston's reaction, Caitlyn Clark said, "Oh yeah, I'll pay your fine." But Aaliyah Boston's like, "Hey B got the technical? What? Hey B?" That was priceless. Love me some Aaliyah Boston, I really do. Sophie Cunningham, not very politically correct. Now I'm not talking about. Okay, let's do an aside here for a second. I don't care about the fashion show. The NBA has a fashion show as well. It's a great time for folks to get a chance to push their brand, especially if they have a brand deal with some fashion folks. And it's a great time to get interview questions in or see something funny like what Kobe Bryant did one time where he hid behind a stanchion. I am not talking about the fashion show thing at the beginning of the games. The NBA guys need to quit what they're doing sometimes. Sometimes I think that their mamas need to get back in their lives and dress them properly. But when I talk about not being politically correct, I am not talking about the fashion walk that is the pregame thing. Sophie Cunningham comes across as having a personality. She does things that you're just sitting there going, "What in the world?" And Aaliyah Boston has a personality, but it seems like her and Sophie Cunningham could probably be dangerous if they spend too much time together, which is a good thing. Paige Beckers comes across as very politically correct. Kelsey Plum, because of her position, comes across as very politically correct. Every bit of the media that is allowed by the WNBA comes across as politically correct. No. No. Just like the 80s drug thing, just say no. Well, I guess 80s and 90s. Just say no. You need these folks to be able to make the correct comments. One of the best segments of Inside the NBA, Stacked in a Fool. We need somebody with official access to the videos being able to do a WNBA Shacked in a Fool. Seriously, that needs to be done every week until these women decide that they're not going to do some of the silliness that they are doing. I have watched games, and some of these women do amazing things, but some of these women just know. And then there's the simple fact of that I think one of the reasons that you don't want non politically correct individuals is because you don't want to let it be known, and I've already stated my opinion in my previous WNBA video. You don't want people commenting on the refs because the refs are doing exactly what you want them to do. I can guarantee you that. And you don't want the refs to have their feelings hurt, even though they need it hurt every night of the week. Non-political correctness is a necessity for media, especially when it comes to sports. People want to see the personality of these folks. Why do you think some of the most memorable things happen when people are not necessarily acting a fool? Dominique Wilkins, even though that he didn't only dunk, Dominique Wilkins did things in the air that were amazing. Dr. J did things in the air that were amazing. Michael Jordan did things in the air that were amazing. Those three men, two small forwards and a two guard, those three men brought more personality than anybody can even imagine. Two different positions, basically all from the same cut of cloth, even though they had distinct personalities. We need that when it comes to WNBA media right now. Because if you don't, you're going to hurt yourself. That's the three things right there. So let's get a little cleanup here. I am well aware that you are most likely going to wait until the end of the CBA before you do anything at the WNBA level. Right now, you are not. There is not. You're not going to see a fix in the media. You're not going to see a fix with the refs. But the media, there needs to be something done. You have games across 50 million channels. I honestly don't know all the channels, like Ion, Monumental, or whatever it is, the M, or whatever it is that I see on for the Washington Mystic stuff. I think it's like ABC and CBS have games, possibly TNT, ESPN. All these channels have WNBA games. Okay, you need a central channel or a central show. I would say it could go on YouTube, Rumble. Well, you're not going to put it on Rumble. That's not politically correct enough for you. You'll have to only put it on YouTube. But you put it on YouTube and cover the day's games. Who cares what channel? Like, you talk to all the channels. We're allowing a YouTube show. We're not going to do it for money. We'll get the audience. We don't need, you could get a sponsorship like Josh Pate. You bring in some folks with personality that aren't politically correct and are honest, and they're talking about the games like the Inside NBA or so many other shows out there. Holy cow, all of a sudden people are going to be able, without having to watch all this stuff, they're going to be able to go on there, watch a breakdown of the games from people that they have to be able to rely on them. And this will help the W. Now, I am not making a pitch for myself because I am not an athlete. I am not an analyst, somebody that does analysis as well as others. I am my own person. I did redneck sports so I could cover multiple sports. And I had to learn how to brand myself. Now, I might not grow all the time. I don't care. Redneck sports is my way of getting to voice my opinion on one of my favorite topics, which is sports. I don't cover everything sports, but I love me some sports, and I just felt like I wanted to cover it. So I have. Y'all have a thing that you can cover. Y'all have experts at your disposal. Y'all need to get out there and work on that because y'all are failing yourselves and the W, and it needs to be fixed up right and quickly. This has been Paul with Redneck Sports. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. I want to thank you for watching my video. And if you like what you saw, like, subscribe, and comment. Y'all have a good day now.